Incorruptible Us's Great American Smokeout Primer this evening. My name is Carlo Favretto Jr. I am the statewide youth coordinator for our Incorruptible Us campaign. But I talk way too much, and so this is the opportunity for our youth to talk to you about some very important topics, including the Great American Smokeout. Okay, so I'm going to pass it over and I'll sort of popcorn it around so everybody can introduce themselves. I am here with Samantha. Samantha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Samantha Castaldo and I'm from Bergen County.
Perfect. And Jassy?
Hi, I'm JC Matari, and I'm from Passaic County Incorruptible.
And Grace?
Hi, I'm Grace Miller and I'm from Monmouth County.
Sophia?
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm from Atlantic County.
And Darlene?
Hi, I'm Darlene. I'm from Middlesex County.
And Kirill?
Hi, I'm Kirill. I'm also from Middlesex County.
And Esther?
I'm Esther Malcolm and I'm from Gloucester County.
Perfect. And Serenity?
Hi, I'm Serenity and I'm from Atlantic County.
Perfect. And I see some of my colleagues here today, so I'm going to ask you to just briefly introduce yourself. Miss Caitlin.
Hey everyone, my name is Caitlin Bradley. I work for Partners in Prevention, specifically the Lindsay Meyer Teen Institute. I'm really excited to be here with all of you today and hear what the youth have to say about GASO.
And Maya.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Maya Shinoy, Tobacco Programs Manager at the Cooperative and Family Health Initiatives.
And Miss Sharonda.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharonda M. and I am the youth coordinator for for Middlesex County, Incorruptible Us.
Perfect, thank you. And so I'm going to share my screen just briefly. Incorruptible Us is going to introduce themselves to you. So go ahead and take it away.
Hi, I'm Darlene, and I'm going to be introducing Incorruptible Datas. I'd like to start off by saying our mission is to definitely reduce the amount of tobacco use in the youth with advocacy, doing events, and just educating the youth on the harms behind tobacco and just by connecting us together. We're a group led by ages from 13 to 18-year-olds, so around high school. And we're focused on educating, like I said, our peers and just the youth and everyone about the causes, like and the harms of behind tobacco, and just making change through the media, with posters, in school with lunching table events and after school events.
I'm Kirill Lorca, and the Incorruptible Us method is to inform, learn about a variety of tobacco-related topics and influential factors. And as we said, we teach people through like social media, peer-led education, and social media and school and community engagement. The N is for navigate, to brainstorm and develop plans for engagement and strategy and goals. And the C stands for change, to discover ways to take action and bring lasting change to communities. So we really do hope to make an impact on youth, especially to not only prevent young people from starting, but also to help them quit.
Awesome, perfect. So I will leave it back off to you all to engage in a very interesting conversation today. So take it over.
I would like to transition it to then our next topic, social media.
Okay, so people tend to buy something called non-nicotine vapes and like a product called Puffy Air, and they're usually popping up on social media, which advertise that a plant-based and easier to avoid addiction to, and is mostly targeted to people who want to quit and think they are the safer option, or or underage first time users. But what people don't understand is the same, it's just as bad as a regular vape. It uses the same chemicals as propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, and it's like which is inhaled. It can irritate your lungs and airways, and it also has the same three heavy metals, nicotine and lead, and while also having the same addictive factor of flavoring in them.
There have also been essential oil products that pop up on TikTok Shop and like those easily accessible sources. One of them I've seen the most is at Zymonth, I think, and it's listed as a lung and breath refresher. And under the listing, it says herbal breath, single pack, and calms nerves. This is making it this is listed to help people quit and calm nerves, but it actually makes everything worse. So it still has those same harmful chemicals and like ingredients that are in nicotine vapes and other substances, but it's just listed differently to make it more appealing to people.
So next, I was going to discuss how influencers have been helping, promote vaping and making it seem cool. They'll do like brand partnerships where they get paid to, hook teens and their young audiences and stuff. And that makes like big tobacco win because they're getting paid, the influencers win because they're getting paid, but the real loser is the teens because they're the ones that are ultimately destroying their health and their future and whatnot. And also a lot of the propaganda out there that's on social media. Like I found this website where it talks about, oh, here are celebrities that vape, and it'll show pictures that are obviously edited. Like even with the vape, it doesn't have a shadow or anything, so you can clearly tell someone just copy and pasted this in to try to see like, oh, look, here's Miley Cyrus or like Nick Lively or like whoever vaping, so you should too. And the website sells vapes, and it's almost like a clothing shop. Like they have a Black Friday section and a clearance section, and it's just insane to even look at. So yeah, that's definitely played a big role in popularizing vaping.
Another thing I was going to talk about to add on to the thing Sophia said about the influencers is recently, as most people know, Taylor Swift just got engaged, and in her engagement photo, there was a vape in the background. And Taylor Swift is a very prominent person in like influence and like social media and like influencing other people. And the vape was in the background of her engagement photo, which then I've started to see on my TikTok feed vapes with her vinyl covers on them, which I know a lot of people my age are very into Taylor Swift. So if the promoting of like those tobacco products and the things that aren't good for them have something that their favorite influencer has on it, it's going to promote it to the wrong audience that shouldn't be vaping.
Adding on to what Grace said, the people with like the biggest platforms and the biggest like audience always have the most pull on like younger kids, like preteens, teenagers, because they want to be like in the person that they look up to. So if these kids, if these preteens are looking up to people who are promoting bad habits, they're more likely to be like, oh, this looks so fun, like I should do this. And that just popularizes the use of like vapes and nicotine among like younger kids.
Also, going off of what Grace said, I know like a ton of young girls look up to Taylor Swift like a role model and stuff. So if they see that kind of like propaganda, that fake vape thing, they're gonna want to start doing it because they're like, oh, it's like a Taylor thing, it's a Swifty thing, but it's not.
On the same line of like social media influence, a lot of your peers are online. So they post a lot and you see people who go to parties and who vape and who smoke and you look at them and you think, "Oh, I guess this is cool now. I guess this is what normal people do." So you think that you should start doing it just because all your friends are like posting about vaping and smoking.
I feel like I'm just gonna add on to what Tony said. I feel like that feeds into like societal peer pressure that like you see somebody else doing it and it's like it becomes so normalized that like you're like, why don't I like try it for like curiosity or like everybody around me is doing it and like you decide to like try it and that's how people start to get into like studies and stuff like that. So,
And because it's so popularized and so normalized, you could get it anywhere. Like I was saying before, you can get stuff on the TikTok shop. And specifically, I've been seeing these like nicotine patches where they're being sold as a replacement for vapes instead of the sorry, instead of the quitting, like being used to quit. And there was a specific video I saw of this guy. His name is Cole Costless, and he starts out of a video by saying, "You're telling me I waited till I was 21 to buy these when I could have bought them on the TikTok shop at any age." And that just, it's so frustrating because these young kids are being exposed to products that they shouldn't even know exist, and people are promoting them, like, "Oh, buy this, you don't even have to be 21." And that's it. Just the accessibility of it is insane.
And you definitely know that it's the tobacco companies are starting to market towards like younger kids, because they sell them in flavored uh yeah, they sell like flavored vapes. So obviously it's more appealing to children because they like cotton candy flavor or like Sour Patch flavor. And also I have been seeing vapes with like games on the back of them or something, which is again marketing towards younger kids because kids love playing with games as well.
Have you guys seen anything about the nicotine pouches that are out?
I've Okay, sorry, my mic wasn't working. I've seen like the ones I just talked about, the nicotine pouches. I if you I opened TikTok before and I just searched nicotine pouches or nicotine patches, and there was like a whole line of stuff that came up being like listed as replacements and like therapy and stuff.
I know another thing to go off um what Sam was just saying, there's a difference between the patches and the pouches. So the patches are something that go on your body and they're actually used as NRT, like nicotine replacement therapy. But the pouches are like, I think they're called Zyn pouches if I'm being correct, or something along the lines, where they go in the top of your gums and it like you can suck on it like how you would suck on like a gummy bear or something, and it releases like nicotine and other products into your like mouth and your saliva, which isn't good because then it can also release really tiny microfibers into your gums and into your teeth and into your lip, which can eventually cause gum cancer and other things of the sorts if you're using them frequently.
To add on to that, people think that they're actually better than vaping because they don't have any smoke or they don't have any vapor that comes with it. So it gives like a cleaner look. So it makes it more appealing and it makes it easier to hide. So that's why teens target or gravitate it gravitate towards it more because it doesn't come with any of the smoke.
Yeah, like those Zyn pouches and stuff, they all they do is take away the smoke, but it's still the same toxins and chemicals, still all the same bad stuff you would get from vape or cigarette or e-cigarettes or whatever product you use.
And the way that they are advertised, like by memes or like younger people, like seeing them, also want like other younger kids also get into that, and then that doesn't like make it any right, so it like gets bad over time.
And as Jesse was saying, if these like young kids and young teens are like vaping and trying to like do this and like doing this in their everyday life, there's always going to be that aspect of their friends who don't vape and don't smoke. They'll be like, "Oh, well, my friends are doing this, I should do it too." And then there's that peer pressure with, "Oh, I'm not going to fit in anymore," or "I'm like, everyone's going to think I'm like a loser and I don't because I don't vape or I don't smoke. And then they start doing that, and then it kind of snowballs into like this like thing of peer pressure where, oh, I'm not going to fit in if I don't do this.
To add on to that, like your friends don't outright tell you like, "Oh, you should smoke or else you're weird." They don't outright tell you that. So it's usually just this like judgment or like, "Oh, you're not gonna do it." So it's kind of like you feel excluded and you feel like you're not fitting in with them because they're giving you this judgment and you don't have something in common with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's more of an implied thing. So, like, if you were to go somewhere and like your friends are vaping, but you're kind of staying away from them because you don't want to inhale the smoke, they're eventually going to stop inviting you to things because you're being weird around them when they're smoking. You're making it a big thing. But in all honesty, you're just trying to care for your health and protect yourself.
So what Sophia's saying, it also ties into the fact that because there are so many people that you're trying to stay away from smoking and vaping, but it's happening in so many public spaces like school bathrooms full of people vaping and smoking. And that has led administration to lock the bathrooms and to like put vape detectors and stuff, which punishes the people who aren't vaping and aren't smoking when they have to walk in during their fourth period and inhale all of the smoke and like residue.
I agree 100% with everything Sam's saying. I know at our school, we used to be able, before the first period started, we used to be able to go into one of the bathrooms and, fix our hair or do whatever we need to do. But all the bathrooms are locked now. And they're also locked in between periods too. When you're going to your next class, you can't stop into the bathroom real quick to use the bathroom or to fix your hair or like whatever you need to do. Because we have hall monitors now that are there, and we have to have hall passes, and you only get like a certain time frame to go to the bathroom you were assigned to and then come back to class. All while at the bathroom, you have to, check in and check out. So they make sure you're doing the right thing. But it's just really time consuming for the people who are just trying to go into the bathroom real quick and get out.
And to
And
add,
just to add,
sorry, you can go ahead.
okay, just to add on to what everyone was saying, peer pressure can also happen in adult spaces too. I know we're all teens, and so we're talking about like what's happening with teenagers, but I don't want people to think like peer pressure can't happen in adult spaces because even at work, people take frequent breaks to take smoke breaks, which like sometimes like at school how you're vaping in the bathroom, how they form those little cliques of the people who are vaping or smoking, that can also happen in like a workspace environment, and it's not just like one age group problem. It affects everyone no matter what age you start smoking or vaping. It's still going to eventually lead to the same consequences that you can have if you start at a younger age.
And I was gonna add what's really unfortunate about all this is that when people are caught in the bathroom smoking, or when people are just caught in general who vape on them in schools, they're instead of being like just like given resources to ways to quit or organizations held in school like Incorruptible, instead they're punished. And I think personally that there should be more done with that instead of punishing students for tobacco use, because I feel like punishing them will only make them want to do it more in those spaces.
I feel like suspending people for vaping is really target the problem and just think of a way to go home to do it more whenever you need to. And it's not really like addressing the main issue of both the peer pressure and the addiction. So you can't just like say I want to quit and just quit. It's not, there's like additives in it that makes you want to like, quit. So yeah.
I definitely agree that like targeting the kids who like do vape and kind of like almost villainizing them and making them seem like oh like they're so bad. It definitely alienates them from trying to get help and pushes them towards vaping even more. I definitely think that we should probably try maybe like gently pushing them towards like support groups or like therapy groups or just like substance therapy as well. I know at our school we have a substance abuse counselor, but I don't it isn't advertised well or it isn't advertised at all.
What Serenity says makes sense because usually when teens start vaping and doing stuff like that, they're doing it because they're like under pressure or having some like mental health issues where they don't know where else to turn, they don't know what else to do. So they're like, because of these advertisements, they're seeing, oh, this will calm me down, this will like make everything better. And having counseling available and having like support systems will definitely could definitely help someone quit instead of villainizing them and making their problems seem like small.
And
Yeah.
there, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
You can go.
Just to agree with what Serenity and Sam said, like only villainizing them, like it only pushes them closer to their vape because you're isolating them even more from help and from being healthy again. So I feel like at our school, like if the substance abuse counselor was advertised a bit more, or if people knew more about if she offers like substance abuse therapy or like peer counseling where it's like you're not just in a room with an adult, you're with your peers and you're talking about the problems that you all share and working together to kind of change it. And you guys can be there for each other and hold each other accountable. Stuff like that, I think, would make a bigger difference than just saying, oh, 10-day suspension, where you can just go home and vape even more.
And I also think there's like a huge like peer pressure plays a huge role in stopping people from actually trying to go and ask for help to quit because if everyone around you is doing it, if you suddenly say like, "Oh, I kind of want to stop," they might, ostracize you and say like, "Why are you saying that you're like better than us or something?" So yeah.
I feel like if like schools like had programs like okay, like in my school, when people get like late dishes and stuff like that, you accumulate points. So like many like athletes and stuff like that, you have this program called Restorative Justice. So like you have to attend like a little like lunch session or whatever, and then you get your points out by doing so. So I feel like if you were to like get disciplined, you wouldn't be suspended because suspension would just make you go home and just continue vaping. You could go to like a little thing, just like get your points down. It could also help you with like stress management. You could like talk about like I don't know issues that are probably pushing you into going to vaping and stuff like that. So yeah, and coping with stress. Stuff like that.
The stress, from what I've heard, many of my peers have used stress as their like reason for why they vape. They were like, "Oh, just helps with stress. It just helps when I'm having a hard time." But really, it's like it doesn't truly help them as it only stops the withdrawal effects because it just gives this endless cycle of reassurance that, "Oh, it's calming me down. It's giving me this momentary like feeling of happiness." But when they stop vaping, they start feeling the withdrawal symptoms. But so they're stuck in this loop that it's their only coping mechanism to help regulate this stress.
Like Kirill was saying, people are using stress as their excuse, like, oh, it's just gonna calm me down. It's just for right now. I can quit whenever I want. But she's saying with the side effects and the withdrawal effects, you can't. I mean, you can quit, but it's gonna be hard, and you're gonna want to go back to it. And using a vape for stress, like to help calm stress down, when all it's really doing is making the stress worse. And if you try to quit, there's going to be 10 times more stress because you were using it to stop your stress.
I feel like it's not like they thought it was to help. I mean, yeah, it is because they thought that it would help them. But like it's always been advertised that way. Like cigarettes and like vapes and stuff like that. They say, oh, it's gonna help you get pretty or like reduce your stress levels. So like the best information like spread around, and then everybody just thinks, I could just hit a vape or like take a smoke break to relieve the stress. But it's not really helping with anything. It's just getting you closer to addiction and also hurting your lungs and adding carcinogens. So like, yeah.
I agree with this stuff about like stress and stuff. If a teen is vaping because of stress, I think the people who are trying to help them should encourage them to more healthy options to cope with stress. Like I know for me, if I get very stressed, I exercise, I do some light yoga because that helps calm me down. Or maybe like therapeutic coloring or art therapy or painting, things that are calming instead of getting addicted to nicotine or your vape. Like there are other options, and they should know that.
Love natural highs.
And because they never learned real healthy ways to deal with it, it just creates a cycle where they think they need like a vape to feel okay, and it doesn't, and it makes like their addiction grow as they go on.
You
And
also
from
have to think
sorry, you could go.
you also have to think about where all this stress is coming from. Like these like kids in school have so much on their workload and so much to do, and if they're seeing all of this stuff like, hey, this will help, this will calm you down, you have to think about like why they're like starting to vape or why they're like continuing to vape. You have to like figure out like where this is coming from and why it's happening, and then maybe you can like understand like why it's happening, and then how to help like based on what's going on.
And
I
I
feel like
totally agree because people think that like vaping is like the easiest thing to turn to because it's right in your pocket. It's so convenient to like carry around. And especially with like academic stress, they may have so much work that they don't have time for these like leisurely activities to help calm them down. So you really have to understand how much like schoolwork is told.
I agree with Carol because using like vapes and like substances is like a quick way like to escape, but like when you use like natural highs, it takes effort to feel, let's say, like the same feeling you get when like you use a vape, but like it takes effort, which is why people don't really approach natural highs, and I feel like that needs to be like like more informed, like to tell more people about that. Because I feel like it is a better alternative. Why I say I feel like it is a better alternative to like rely on like natural highs and like instead of using substances, because when you use substances, you end up hurting yourself both mentally and physically, and it's like a double-edged sword. So like, yeah.
Just
And
to add on, sorry,
it's okay. Do you want to go?
you can go.
Okay. Um, and unfortunately, like when we get into high school, it's not like too late, but it's definitely harder to deal with stress or to like adapt ways to deal with stress. Because all of these problems they start, when we're like in middle school or even like elementary school. And I think that's also kind of why a lot more like middle schools are starting to vape because um I think school is getting like so much harder on top of everything else that's going on that they see maybe their older sibling or parent vape or smoke and they think like, oh, this is a good solution.
Just to add on to like what everyone's been saying, I know with the peer pressure and the like dependence of vaping, it can really affect someone who's in after school curriculars, like sports or a music program or like a theater club or just anything where you have to take time to like put effort into something. Like for example, in sports, when one person on the baseball team starts vaping and he tells his teammates like, "Oh yeah, I've been so much less stressed before a baseball game. You guys should all try this out." Then it just like peer pressures the rest of the team to try it, and then before you know it, the whole baseball team is vaping, and then one of them tries to stop, they face withdrawal symptoms and like the false oh my god, I can't say it. you, they face the symptoms of when like they stop vaping and the withdrawal happens and just like yeah.
To go a
I think
bit
that
deeper into what Grace said about sports and stuff, I want to take a moment to talk about how it impacts your performance. So, for example, I know a lot of my friends are athletes and, they're striving to get D1, D2, D3 scholarships to play in college. So, I think vaping ultimately negatively impacts your performance in whatever sport you do. It doesn't matter if it's soccer, baseball, swimming, like anything. It hurts you rather than helps you. And I get that it's a way to calm down from the stress, but in the end, it's ultimately hurting you. And if you want that chance, you gotta like quit. And I know for a lot of people it's hard, but it can also like joining a sport and stuff, it can help people quit in a way. So like if someone has nothing going on in their after school, they just go home and vape. Sometimes joining a club or a sport that you're passionate about can help you meet people who don't vape and people who can help you quit. Or it can give you something that you really care about and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to vape because I want to do good in this sport and now I want to try for these scholarships."
I feel like substance use has become very normalized in like sports, like in the sports sense. Like you know how like chew tobacco is used in like baseball or was used in baseball and stuff like that. It's like people use it to stay alert and then got banned, you know, because they found out like what it does, but like some people probably still do use it. And the subject of like substance use and like vaping becomes like a joke, like a subject of a joke, and like sports things like you could like I don't know, be talking to your friend, somebody must have hit that, like just joking around stuff like that, not taking it like very seriously. Shows how like the use like substance use has become very normalized, especially between like athletes and stuff like that.
I know that like I'm not personally an athlete, but I have a lot of friends who are athletes, and they're constantly talking about how, and like they're kind of annoyed about it too. They're constantly talking about like how before practices or after practices or before games or after games, there are people like just loitering in the locker room vaping together. If anyone's an athlete here, do you guys also deal with this issue?
Yeah, as an athlete myself, I've seen people who have smoke and they could be the best as a track runner. They could be the best runner. They could win all their races, but over time, no matter how good you are, that's why like smoking. I've seen their performance go down drastically, and they've been losing. And then after they lose their races, and they're not as good as anymore because just because you're good, smoking could like not make you good anymore.
So especially for like track runners and stuff, like you need to have a really good lung capacity for that kind of sport. And that's one of the things vaping specifically targets. Like you're gonna be out of breath for things that you used to think were easy or things that were easy to do before. So yeah, I can definitely see why you're seeing that like decrease.
There's also the aspect of like the music programs and the theater programs where you have to have a very good lung capacity because like if you're a singer you have to be able to sustain notes. If you're playing like a clarinet or like a trumpet you have to be able to like take bigger breaths and deeper breaths to be able to get these notes out. And in theater there's the concept of you're singing a solo with no one around you. If you can't sustain your breath and you can't like breathe in between like your phrases and stuff, you're not going to be able to get through it and there's no one else to cover you up. So just it doesn't make sense honestly to vape and to do like smoke and to smoke because you if you need your lungs and you need to be able to do this, why are you affecting your performance?
I feel like um there should also like be oh my days. You know what? Never mind.
To add on to what Sam was saying about like the musical part of it. So I'm in band in the theater program at my school, and we had this girl last year. She was Dorothy in our Wizard of Oz play, and she would take breaks in between like Act One and Act Two, where we have like this 20-minute break or something during Tech Week, and she would say she was going to get her dinner, and then she would go outside and literally like use her vape so the teachers wouldn't see it, like not the teachers, but like the coordinators of it. And then especially in like band or theater, like I was just saying, you need a lot of breath. And if you're going up to sing your solo, like Sam was saying, you need a lot of breath. And vaping doesn't. It deteriorates the amount of capacity your lungs have.
It's always really crazy to me as someone who also does like singing and theater, how like people who use their lungs a lot, like athletes or singers, go and turn towards like vaping because in my mind vaping and smoking is the same thing. It still messes up your lungs. But I think maybe it's because I know when I was younger, e-cigarettes and vapes were kind of marketed to us as like healthier options towards cigarettes because they're like, oh, like it doesn't damage your lungs as much. Um, but I guess now we know that's not true.
To add on to this, like all the sports things, I've seen personally like how a whole team has gotten affected because of someone who was caught smoking. So for marching band, it's like a performance. So if one person is kicked out because they got caught smoking, it affects the whole team, and it makes them like restart. They have to replan everything. They have to redo all their practices. Someone has to cover them.
It can also definitely take a toll when somebody's trying to like look for like scholarships and like looking for recruitment. So it's like if they find out like somebody is doing drugs and they catch you and like they do drug testing, stuff like that, and they find out you're doing drugs, you could lose all your scholarships just like that. So
You're also like Kirill was saying, you're affecting your whole team. And she was saying with the marching band example, you have to like replace everyone and you have to like redo everything. That also that also carries over to like like Grace was saying, a feeder program where you have to reblock everything, you have to maybe reassign roles. And that also shows how it's not only affecting the person who is vaping and who is smoking, but it affects the people around them. And sometimes the people around them don't know what to do or don't know how to help. And that all ties into having counseling available and having resources for people who want to quit and want to get better.
I think also if you're around people who don't vape and you suddenly start to vape, they might not want to be around you anymore because either you like make them late or um you smoke around them and they don't like the smell. It'll ostracize you from your friend group. So I think someone who would vape would go towards more people who vape. So it's more normalized and they keep doing it because um, there's no outside, there's no person like on the outside of this saying like this is bad for you.
That what Serenity was saying, like how there's no one saying, "Oh, this is bad for you. This isn't going to help you." That's why people need to be educated about vaping and smoking and what it does to your body and what it does to your brain. And you need to have someone around you who is like, "Hey, you need to stop. Like this isn't helping you. This is actually making everything worse." And that's where how people like us incorruptible can be like spread awareness and be like, hey, this isn't good, like this is why it isn't good, and here are some resources to help you if you want to learn more information.
And speaking of resources, I'd like to ask a question to you all, and feel free to respond how you best see fit. But what do you think is the best way to support someone your age to help them quit if they are addicted to vaping or nicotine of any kind?
I think if someone, like a teen who's vaping, hears it from another teen, it's not gonna feel like a lecture. Because, I'm a firm believer in that, education is a tool, it can help people. But I also know that people aren't going to listen to an adult lecture them. So I think if it's coming from someone their age or someone their age who has gone through a similar experience, who has say, hey, I've been there, but this is what I've done and it's really helped me and I think it can help you. I think that's the best way to go about it.
I feel like just being there for them without judging them and like not to like lecture them, for me not to lecture them, because if you lecture them they're gonna like be like, oh, why would I listen to you? And but there's other ways you could do it. You could just take them out more or like distract them. I feel like that would be a better option.
I think it's definitely tricky if the person who you're trying to help doesn't think that they need help or don't want help. I think in that situation I would probably, if they were my friend, I'd probably like sit them down and say like, "Hey, like I've known you for probably a long time and I know that you don't want help. And I'm not going to like force you to do anything, but if you want to talk to me, then, I'll make myself very open to that person."
I feel like introducing them to options like natural highs, different ways to like relieve yourself of the stress is better than like just, I don't know, sitting them. I mean, yeah, sitting them down and talking to them is also a good way, but like I feel like you lecturing them is just gonna make it seem like you're acting like you're better than them, which I mean, it's good that we know information, but we're also trying to share the information with you so that way you get better. You don't end up harming yourself in turn. So like, yeah.
And you can't help someone who doesn't like want help or won't accept help. And that's where you need to be like strict enough that you're like, hey, if this keeps happening, it's going to affect you and that. But there's also going to be the factor of people don't want to be around you. And that's where usually if it's bad, you can get someone to help your friend or like get more resources for that friend because you can only do so much.
Yeah, I agree with Sam completely. And I think if you try to like distract your friend and stuff and bring them into other things, that could also be a help.
Yeah, I definitely think that like the idea of peer on peer communication instead of like adult on peer communication is definitely one of the most helpful ways, because I know if you're getting lectured by like an adult for something that happened, you're not going to take it the same way as like if your friend comes up to you and has like not a mean conversation but a firm one about like, because most people our age don't know the actual consequences of what vaping can do to them. Like they don't know what withdrawal is. They don't know like what any of the products can do to you. So definitely like being a peer on peer and having like a firm but friendly conversation and like explaining what the symptoms are and like what the consequences are would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, it's not a process that's gonna happen overnight. Like, not is no one's gonna wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, I'm gonna quit vaping," and that's it, no consequences. But having someone there for you who's willing to take you every step of the way for the days that are really rough because of your withdrawal symptoms, all the way to the end where you can't even imagine vaping in your life anymore. It really means a lot to someone.
Yeah, I totally agree that like um peer-on-peer advice and support is really important. It's probably like the most effective. But do we think is there any point where we think that we should like tell like an adult about like someone who like their struggles, because I know that like we're all like really young, so it can be a lot on like just you alone to take on like another person's mental load. So do we think at what point should we like get someone who's more like of a professional?
I think it's important to reach out to a trusted adult like the SAC at your school because they'll be able to give you information on the Quit Center. They're able to give you information on different programs that are available for youth who may have a addiction to vaping. So it's really important to reach out to the adults who have that information for those cessation resources for you. Because we're not expecting you to know everything, but just being there for your friends and helping them, and also being that helping hand. You know what? I don't know that information, but I'm going to take you to Miss So and so or Mr. So and so in the school because I know that they're helpful. Or you can even go to your YCs. So if you are an incorruptible S, you can go to your YCs and then they can give you that information as well.
But I have like a general question. Like this is like actually me thinking. Would that get them in trouble? Like in trouble because I think that they just really need help, and I wouldn't want them to get in trouble. But yeah.
So if you're going for help, no, that's not going to get you in trouble. It's not. If you are nervous or scared about it, what I would do is I would go to your SAC first and say, I just have a question. I know someone who may need some help. They are vaping and they want to quit. What should I do? And then that person will tell you what the steps are. They may
Mhm.
say, bring them to me. They may just give you the information or the resources for you to call the Quit Center or something of that nature. So if you are nervous about it, then I would talk to them first and I wouldn't give them your friend's name. I would just try to get the information first. They may say, no, bring them to me. I could definitely help you. Okay. So you could try it both ways. It
Mhm.
depends on the relationship that you have with that adult.
Yeah, and we've talked about some of the different ways that you can help support your friends. When we're always plugging quit services here, right? And Miss Rhonda talked a little bit about the Quit Center, and there are free text to quit services that are available. Our New Jersey Quit line is one of them, right? That you can text to quit for a quit coach. That's 100% confidential information between, that friend who might need help to quit and that quit coach. Same thing if they were to use the Truth Initiative's quit line, which is X program. So they could text X program 88709 and it enrolls them in a free text to quit service as well. So those are all their helpful resources in case someone might be afraid of, maybe somebody's parents don't know that they are vaping, right? But they need some help without telling mom or dad. So that confidentiality, I think, is key, and thankfully there are resources to help with that. Awesome. Well, you all have done an amazing job in this conversation today, so I want to thank you very much for that. Um, can you tell us a little bit more of where folks can find information about Incorruptible Us?
Okay. So there is the statewide website, which is incorruptible.us.nj, and then there is the statewide Instagram, which is at the incorruptible.us.nj.
Yes, that I would also like to take a moment to thank everyone who logged on to this Zoom for hearing us out and hearing our opinions on things because it means a lot to know that what we think actually matters and that there's people out there that actually care. So thank you all for logging on tonight.
Awesome. Yes, thank you all for listening, and thank you all for such a great job that you all have done. We are going to leave y'all with a little 10-minute break or so because we have our youth advisory board meeting in a little bit too. So we will see you all over there. And yeah, awesome job, everyone. Big round of applause for everything that you've been able to do and accomplish. And if you do not already know, folks, the Great American Smokeout is this Thursday for the official day, but we've been celebrating it all month. So please make sure that you are checking out the Incorruptible Us Instagram at theincorruptible.nj for a bunch of quit tips and fun breakup song stuff, as well as the Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey page. And I look forward to our next conversation. So good job.